Final Fantasy VI, the Drama Series, Season 4, Episode 1. A ceremony is being held at Figaro Castle, and people are gathered outside looking up at Edgar, who's at the top of the castle. Locke and Celes are standing behind him as Edgar gives a speech to everyone. Today we celebrate the heroic feats of brave individuals who risked it all for everyone. I asked these dear friends of mine if they would share a few words with you all, to which they kindly obliged. Let me introduce to you all General Celes. Celes begins to step forward. We have her to thank for ushering us into this world of ruin. Celes pauses and thinks to herself, World of ruin? She begins to look out into the distance, noticing the red sky and burned down forests. She turns to Locke and he adds, You really came through for us. And then in Kefka's voice, Celes' eyes shoot open as she lays in a rundown bed. She turns her head cautiously. Cid catches her movement with his peripheral vision, lost in thought. Celes? Oh, thank goodness you're awake! Cid coughs. Celes responds, How long was I out for? Cid explains with a couple coughs that he's been doing his best to keep track of time and advises that it's been a year. A flashback plays as he voices over with the occasional cough throughout. As the world disasters hit, I was a little southwest of Miranda. I had stayed nearby since watching Setzer repair his airship after the banquet with the Emperor. The part of land a few others and I were on was violently ripped from the mainland as waters rose as if pushing us away as quickly as possible. Out of nowhere, though, you magically appeared but had a rough landing and were knocked out. I made sure you were okay as the disasters were going on. When things settled down, I put you in the one bed we had. It was very peculiar, though. You were definitely sleeping as I could feel your breath, but I couldn't wake you, and other than the breathing, your body was like frozen in time. I was kind of hoping you'd be able to fill me in. Celes a little groggy. After I was launched from the airship when the disaster started, I saw that I was about to crash into a cliff. She pauses, trying to think back. I frantically casted the warp spell to get out of there. The only thing I can think of, my year-long sleep though, was accidentally also casting sleep and stop on myself in my warping. For it to have lasted this long though. The flashback scenes end. She has her hand on her head, trying to get a hold of herself. What happened to the others? Cid lamented. Being out here on this solitary island with not much, they gave up wondering what the point of existing was. Looking after you, though, the thought never crossed my mind. Celes slowly stands up. Thanks for looking after me. You're like the granddad I never had. She hugs Cid. I'd love to return the favor. I noticed you were coughing, so it's your turn to get some rest. Is there any food around here I can get you? Cid explains that there's only fish, but doesn't mind. Celes tucks him in. Sit tight, I'll be right back. Celes walks outside to the shore to get some fish. As she steps out, she thinks back to her dream and thinks out loud as she sees the reality of outside. The world really is in ruin. We really did fail to stop Kefka. Can we even undo this? Did anyone else make it? Locke, are you alive? Tears start to roll down her face. The scene changes as Celes is facing the water. She uses her ice magic to push the fish toward the shore and gather them and walks back. Cid is in bed, resting. Celes comments, It must have been hard cooking the fish all this time. Hope that furnace kept up with you. With some of my own fire, though, I can prepare this a bit more quickly for you. Celes proceeds to cook the fish. Granddad, here, let's keep that energy up. Cid smiles. Thank you, Celes. I'm really grateful your warp spell brought you to me. Celes smiles. Me too. Cid begins to eat. Compliments to the chef. I'm either a really bad cook or that furnace is because your fish is like fine cuisine in comparison. Celes chuckles. Thanks, glad to see it's perked you up a bit. Cid sits up more in the bed. Celes questions, Have you wondered about how the rest of the world is doing? Cid says how he did at first, but as he continued watching over Celes, he realized that it was the most fulfilled he had felt in his life. The rest of the world didn't seem to matter. Cid comments, The Empire really didn't offer much in comparison. Cid gets up from the bed. I have something to show you. It's my greatest technological feat compared to anything done with the Empire. Cid reveals a hidden room behind the furnace. While you were sleeping, I didn't just twiddle my thumbs. I built this raft using the limited material I could find. Now you might think, gee, Granddad, you've assembled greater things before, but that's where you're wrong. I may be the reason you have magic, and you could argue that made life for you more difficult, but this gift for you carries something much greater for you. Hope. Celes sheds a tear. Cid continues, You need to find your friends. They can help shoulder the burden you must feel from all that's happened. Find Locke. Back at the factory after you left, I told him you could be trusted and that I didn't know you defected. Forgive me if I had messed up back there. Celis hugs Sid again. You have nothing to apologize for. Thank you for everything, Granddad. I love you. Sid with tears in his eyes too. I love you too. The scene shifts to Celis with the raft, having used the flip spell to make it easier to transport to the shoreline. Celis assures Sid, I'll come back for you and bring Locke with me too. Celis hops on the raft and waves bye to Sid. As Celis is on the water, she adds some ice to give structural integrity to the raft. She then checks her pockets and finds she still has the Bismarck magicite. She thinks to herself that this fortune is a sign that things will work out. She uses it to help speed her travel. She sees a town in the distance and has a glimmer in her eyes and asks herself, who will I find first? Season 4, Episode 2. Each episode from here on out, as part of the intro, includes a tracker of all the magicite the group has and how many friends have been recruited for the mission of defeating Kefka. Magicite, 1 out of 12. Friends, 1 out of 12. Celis is walking around a rebuilt Albrook with relief of there being others who've continued to carry on. She visits the tavern, which she remembers being the Imperial Guard's #1 hangout spot. The bartender greets her in a depressed voice. Welcome, what can I get you? Celis responds, sorry, the last time I was here was before all this with the world and simply wanted to check in. The bartender laments, yeah, those are the good old days. Now it's a ghost town in here. I know the Empire wasn't the most popular group, but boy did they know how to have a good time. Celis leaves and sees an old man next to a fire. He calls out to her, excuse me, miss, are you must be, you're General Celis. She politely corrects him. Not a general anymore, but can you tell me, what's life been like this past year? I was in a deep sleep since the world catastrophe. The old man brings her up to speed about how not far from here is Kefka's Tower, an impenetrable fortress that you'd basically need to fly to get in, but from its top. Kefka casts down judgment, albeit randomly and lately scarce. The past few months, though, he's been quiet, but I worry something may happen soon. Otherwise, people have been trying to move on and live their normal lives. It's been hard, though. The old man pauses and then continues. Now General Celis, I don't know who else would be up to the task, but might you put an end to Kefka? Celis replies, it needs to be done, but I need to find my friends first. I don't know who I should ask about if you've seen. The old man concludes, you're the only person in town I've seen not from here and not just trying to survive. North of here is the town of Zen. Maybe you'll have better luck there. Celis thanks the old man and bids him farewell as she decides to head north. As Celis walks, she fights off a number of beasts that were definitely not around before and wishes to herself that she had a chocobo. She sees Kefka's tower and just how tall it is. She closes her eyes briefly and continues the trek towards Zen. Just as Celis arrives, a light wave is fired from Kefka's tower, striking the town, causing an earthquake. Everyone starts to freak out and is running around as some houses start to collapse. Celis runs through the town to see if there's anyone she can help escape with her magic and comes across a woman screaming to her, my baby! Help me get my baby! Celis asks where her kid is and she points to the mansion. He's still home, but I was out when this all started. Celis persuades her. It's too dangerous for you to come with me. I'll go get him. She runs to the mansion and casts Protect on herself in case the house crumbles on her as a safety precaution. The earthquake stops, but the building is starting to collapse as Celis rushes through each room yelling for a response. She hears a faint crying response from downstairs and rushes in. She sees a little boy crying out loud and picks him up. Hey little one, I'm here to bring you to safety. As she's running, she also casts Protect on the boy. More of the house is collapsing as they run down the hall and bursts out the front door. Celis tumbles but holds the boy tight, preventing him from getting hurt. She looks back at the house and sees it finally collapse. The boy's mom excitedly runs to her boy and picks him up from Celis, crying, yelling, You made it! Sabin appears from behind the house. Way to go, Celis! Celis' heart skips a beat. Sabin? Sabin gives Celis a big hug. Celis is at a loss for words and starts to cry. You're really alive! Sabin laughs. Of course! You think something like the end of the world would do me in? Celis confesses. I came to search for everyone, but until now, part of me still believed that maybe no one else had made it. Sabin agrees. You're right. Everyone must still be around and we should find them. This is the first town I came across since that day and figured that although we couldn't stop Kefka, the least I could do was help the people here. I was actually doing some work out back for the woman whose child you saved. I knew her kid was inside, but when the earthquake happened, all I could do was my best keeping the place from collapsing. I heard his mom yell that he made it, so I was good to let go. If we really want to help these people, though, we need to put an end to Kefka. Celis confirms. Yes, so any idea of where to go from here? Sabin nods. I actually just saved up enough money for an important purchase. Follow me. As people are slowly going back to their homes, Celis follows Sabin behind a house that looks like it was run down prior to the earthquake. He calls out, I have the payment! A man from behind some trees shows up. Sabin hands over the 3,000 gold pieces. Pleasure doing business with you, my friend, and gives him the Seraphim Magicite. Celis questions, a Magicite? Sabin nods. Yeah, this guy was trying to sell some stuff to get by, not knowing what this was, but I showed too much interest, so he hiked the price a bit. I had Phantom with me when the disaster happened, so now we have 2. Celis corrects him. 3. I have Bismarck. Sabin remarks, great. We had 12 before, so there are still 10 unaccounted for. Hopefully, everyone else has them. We're going to need them all to bring Kefka down. As Celis and Sabin continue to leave the town, Sabin leads Celis. There's also a chocobo stable nearby. Celis with a huge sigh of relief. Yes! Sabin pulls out a map. There was a traveling merchant about a month ago who had mapped all he could on land. This was even more expensive than the Magicite we just got. We have 2 choices. There is Mobley's to the far east here, or we could go to Nakia up north. The merchant said, though, Mobley's was a shell of itself and empty. Celis decides, let's go for Nakia. Back then, they would also sail to South Figaro. Maybe that's still a thing. I'm impressed, Sabin. This resourcefulness I would expect from your brother. Sabin laughs. Just cause he's the king doesn't mean I don't have what it takes. Sabin and Celis ride their chocobos, heading off to Nakia. Season 4, Episode 3. Magicite, 3 out of 13. Friends, 2 out of 12. Celis and Sabin are walking through the town of Nakia. Celis sees from a distance in the market. Edgar? Edgar? There is no response. Celis starts to run toward him and Sabin follows. She grabs his shoulder to have him turn. The man responds, Excuse me? Who are you? In a disturbed, confused manner. Sabin speaks up. Bro, what are you doing? It's been what, a year? And this is how you react to us? The man speaks up. Sorry, bro, but I'm busy right now. Celis continues. You're not Edgar? The man chuckles. Edgar? Sorry, miss, but it's Jared. Anyway, good luck finding this Edgar. Jared turns away from them and continues walking. Celis calls his bluff. Tara is going to be excited to see you too. Jared pauses. Tell her I offer my condolences. And he turns and walks into the tavern. Celis reasons with Sabin. Maybe it really isn't Edgar. Sabin laughs. No, that's Edgar. Come on, he reacted to Tara's name and said his name was Jared. He probably thinks that just because he's not in his normal kingly getup that he can pass off as someone else. The guy has no imagination. Let's just follow him without him noticing and see where he leads us. They enter the tavern and take their seats, minding their own business. Jared notices them, but pays them no mind. Some other guys enter too and meet up with Jared. Celis tries to look to try to read lips, but isn't able to make them out. Jared whispers to the guys pointing to Celis and Sabin. Celis quickly turns away and looks straight ahead. The guys head out with Jared last following them. He stops right before exiting. Why isn't that Tara girl you mentioned with you? Maybe she found her way to South Figaro. Jared continues to leave. Sabin laughs. Yeah, that's Edgar. He's being very obvious about it, but we need to get on the ship here. It apparently still does go to South Figaro. Celis and Sabin head out. Sabin takes out the Phantom Magicite and uses it to make him and Celis invisible, and they sneakily follow the group to the port and jump in the boat's cargo. Celis shares with Sabin how before Celis and Edgar were on a ship together, he was telling her to try to make amends with Locke after he couldn't believe her to be on their side, and hopes that Locke is okay. Sabin assures her that he's probably off looking for some treasure for Ray and stops talking. Celis gives a small chuckle. For the end of the world, sure seems like everyone survived then. They land at South Figaro, and as Jared and the others leave, they make for the main part of the city themselves. Celis continues to reminisce how this is where she met Locke and he gave his word that he would protect her. She continues about how crazy it is, all that's happened since then. Sabin responds, Man, I feel bad I don't really have any stories of my own to share. My time before meeting up with everyone was simply training under Master Duncan. But then his son Vargas killed him because he thought Master Duncan chose me over him to be his successor. Both are gone now, so it really is left to me to be the one to carry on his martial arts. Celis apologizes to hear what happened, but tries to make an uplifting comment about how he did have something to share. Sabin smiles. Well, hey, I saw my brother, Jared, go to the inn. Let's go. Jared greets them. Listen guys, I'm flattered you would follow me like a lost puppy, but it's starting to get embarrassing. How about instead of this inn, you go stay at the cave west of here? Jared walks off. Sabin laughs. Subtle. Celis and Sabin take their hint and head to the cave west of the town, seeing that Jared and the guys are ahead, and they continue. Sabin uses the phantom magicite again, and they continue to follow. As they continue through one of the openings in the cave to another area, they see man-made walls. Sabin realizes they're back in Figaro Castle. They see Jared kneel down to a fallen guard, lament, "You didn't make it," and continues off. Celis asks Sabin, "You think the castle has been underground this entire time?" Sabin starts to move more quickly, with Celis following behind as they make it to the room where the engineer would move the castle under the mountains. Celis checks on him and, seeing that he's still alive, uses Cure 2 to bring him back fully. He coughs and starts to speak, looking at them. "Sabin, it's good to see you." Sabin asks what's happened, and the engineer explains that the castle can't move because the engine is failing. "A guy looking like the king along with our prisoners, though, knocked me out, saying that the treasure was just beyond the engine room." Celis deduces that Edgar's trying to get to the engine room to fix the engine, but isn't quite sure how the prisoners fit into the story. They proceed to the engine room, and the prisoners are freaking out a little from all the tentacle monsters around the engine, and Jared assures them, "Don't worry, the treasure we're after is in the room ahead. Just make a run for it and I'll take care of this mess." The prisoners don't question the plan and run for the treasure. Celis yells once more, "Edgar!" Jared turns around. "Well, Celis and bro, care to give me a hand?" Celis smiles. "Yes, boss!" The three have their fight, defeating the tentacles that were actively fighting them. Celis uses Bismarck to wash the engines of the residual tentacles. Edgar thanks Celis, and Sabin takes out the Ramu magicite. "And we'll use this to jumpstart the engine." Once the power is on, the prisoners open the door, leaving the room. "Well, boss, you did a great job taking them out. Now let's head out of here." Edgar fixes his hair. "Guys, I'm King Edgar." The prisoners are genuinely shocked, but one of them speaks up. "So you used us to put us back in prison? Big mistake." Edgar cuts him off. "Listen, I just needed you to get back to the castle. Before I change my mind, consider your debt paid. And get out of here with the treasure you got. If you honestly want to waste your lives trying to take me down, consider what this room looked like before we took care of it." One of the prisoners talks to the one who spoke up. "Listen, it might be good for us to just get out of here." The prisoners run away, leaving the castle how they entered. Sabin laughs at Edgar. "Did you really think you had us fooled at all, Jared?" Edgar laughs. "Hey, those prisoners were fooled. More importantly, how dare you use terror to try to get me to break character? Have you heard from her?" Celis gives an apologetic smile. "Sorry, we haven't seen her. I'm surprised you actually haven't found her yourself." Edgar responds, "I'll tell you about it later. Let's get the castle above ground." The group returns to the engineer. Edgar thanks Sabin and Celis for healing him, and the engineer brings the castle above ground, which requires it to move to its second location. Time passes before the castle finishes its travel and emerges from the ground. During its travel, the castle had halted. The engineer reported to Edgar that the castle seemed to be caught on something, and that after checking the jail where the prisoners escaped, he found that the jail had an entrance to a different cave. Edgar told the engineer that resurfacing should be prioritized at this time, and asked the engineer if the castle was able to continue. The engineer explains yes, as the mechanism was designed to account for such interferences. Edgar instructed the engineer to continue to resurface and that they could always revisit it later. They walk outside, and Celis recognizes in the distance the town of Kohlingen. Edgar comments, "Despite the state of the world, a good bit of it is still the same, it seems." Sabin comments, "Maybe Locke is there." Celis concludes, "Let's check it out." Season 4, Episode 4. Edgar is walking alone, a little depressed, and with no real destination in mind. He stumbles across a group of people who had died seemingly from drowning washed up on shore. He frantically searches to see if any were from the group, but there was only one, Bannon, his leader and friend who he felt that he had let down with how things played out on the floating continent. Edgar tries to use the life spell to bring him back, but there's no response. Edgar fights back the tears and carries Bannon's body further inland. He starts digging, using the gravity spell previously learned in the World of Balance from the Phantom Magicite to help, and lays Bannon. Edgar makes a small speech while crying, apologizing for how he failed him and the returners. Without the others and without his castle, there's nothing he can do. The scene shifts, showing him walking somewhat aimlessly as he comes across a torn down town. He sees some dogs bark and run inside a building, so he follows them to the house, knocks, and opens the door wider, walking in, asking, "Hello?" One of the dogs scurries behind a bookshelf, and Edgar, out of curiosity, follows and finds himself in a basement with a whole bunch of kids running around. "Hey guys, are there any adults around?" One of the kids starts yelling, "Mama, Mama!" A door that leads to another room opens and Tara comes out. Upon seeing Edgar, she exclaims, "Edgar!" and gives him a hug. Edgar, shocked, "Tara?" Edgar's eyes start to water, but not enough to form a tear. "Hey, I can't believe it's you. Good to see you." They pull back and Tara asks how he found this place. Edgar informs her of Bannon's unfortunate passing and then wandering here, but feeling invigorated by seeing Tara. "Tara, if we set out to find the others, we can still put an end to Kefka." Tara looks down, disappointed, apologizing. "Sorry, Edgar, I can't." Edgar responds, "Wait, why?" Tara continues, "I don't have it in me to fight anymore. When I came upon this town, I found all these kids with none of their parents. They lost their lives trying to protect their kids in the midst of all their surrounding earthquakes. The kids clung to me and some immediately started calling me Mama. Before, I wanted nothing more than to slay the Emperor who took my parents' lives away from me. Now, these kids without their parents looking up to me as their own, that drive in me vanished. I'm not sure what's going on with me, but even if I wanted to join you, I would only hold you back." Edgar, thinking in his mind how he might refute what Tara is saying to join him. He thinks about the first time the returners asked Tara to join them. Edgar, after his pause, responds, "When we first introduced you to Bannon at the returners' hideout, we wanted you to fight with us, but we wanted you to make the decision on your own. If we had forced you to fight with us, we were no better than the Empire. That is still true today. Tara, I honor and respect your decision. These kids need you and I don't want to take you away from them." Tara smiles with a tear shed. "Thank you, Edgar. You don't know how sorry I am that I can't join you, but please don't give up. The world still needs the returners. It still needs you." Edgar smiles. "You're right. Kefka still must be stopped. And if I give up now, I'll truly have failed Bannon." Tara ends saying, "If you're ever in the area, please come by and say hi." Edgar departs and one of the kids asks, "Mama, who is that?" Tara answers, "One of the best people you could ever know, and the world is lucky to have him." We're brought back to the present after Edgar shared his story, and we see that of the Magicite, we're at 4 out of 13, and Friends 3 out of 12. Edgar, leaving out the last detail of Tara's description of him to one of the kids since he wasn't around to hear it, finishes his story to Celis and Sabin of his encounter with Tara before he found the Figaro Castle prisoners and put into motion his plan to bring the castle up from underground. By now, they've reached Kohlingen from Figaro Castle. Celis apologizes for how things went down with Tara not joining, as Sabin apologizes to hear of Bannon biting the dust. Edgar assures them that they won't let them down and comments on how it had been a while since the three of them were in this town. Celis asks Edgar if he could actually show her where Locke had kept watch over Rachel. Edgar obliges and they head on over. They knock on the door and the old man preserving Rachel's body answers, inviting them in. "Ah, Edgar, good to see you're alive and kicking. These your friends?" Edgar answers, "Yeah, this is my brother Sabin and our friend Celis." Greetings between them are given. Celis speaks. "So we're all good friends with Locke, and we were wondering how Rachel might be doing, and if you've heard from Locke." The old man answers, "Ah yes, you'd think with all that happened in the world, the dead would be deader, but despite the overall vegetation going down a bit, our town has been able to get by, and Rachel continues to be how she always has been." Celis follows up, "Have you heard from Locke?" The old man gets up to pick up a letter he received. "I actually got this letter from him yesterday. Thanks for continuing your work, even after all that's happened. I finally have a lead on the treasure that'll bring Rachel back. May take a bit of time before I finally make it back in town, so please be patient. We can still have hope in this world." Celis doesn't respond. Edgar thanks the old man, but Celis ends up speaking once more. "Can we see her?" The old man says, "Yeah, go for it. Be amazed at my work. Ha 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 ha." They go downstairs and Celis goes to the bed and looks down. Edgar calls to the old man. "You know, it's good to know Locke is doing well. If he gets to you before we find him, can you please send a letter to Figaro Castle?" The old man agrees. Edgar puts his hand on Celis and whispers, "Let's go." The group leaves and goes to the inn. On the way, Edgar apologizes for Locke's stubbornness for Rachel. Celis questions, "Why should you apologize? My first concern in this new world was if Locke was gone, and his was reviving his beautiful dead girlfriend, such that it's the only thing that can give him hope in a dying world." Celis slows down. "This is so embarrassing." Edgar disagrees lightheartedly in an attempt to cheer Celis up. "Not at all. If anyone is to be embarrassed, it's Locke." The group walks into the inn and finds Setzer. Setzer looks up. "Well, look who it is. Is Lady Luck finally coming around?" Season 4, Episode 5. Magicite 4 out of 13, Friends 3 out of 12. Setzer stands up to greet the others and Celis gives Setzer a big hug. Setzer responds, "My lady, it is a delight to see you. Everyone, it's been too long. I remember you guys boarding my ship after that bizarrely charming performance at the opera, and you, Edgar, fooling me with that special coin of yours." Setzer chuckles, but it trails into a sigh. Edgar comments, "We made it far thanks to your help." Setzer interrupts, "And what help am I now with my beloved Blackjack no more?" Sabin encourages, "You're more than just your airship. When we were making those repairs, you were really resourceful. There's more to you than just owning a flying ship." Celis adds the encouragement that she mentions in the game. Setzer looks at the three of them, ending on Celis. "Again, showing yourself to be a star brighter than anything Maria could aspire to. Very well, I'm a chip in your pile. Ante up." "Sabin, speaking of that resourcefulness, we're going to get another one." Sabin responds, "Wait, another? Like another?" Setzer interjects, "Yes, another airship." Edgar in shock, "You just happen to have another airship lying around? Why haven't you been using it?" Setzer holding up his hands, "Hey, hang on there, I have my reasons. The important thing is that it's available. Let's head out. We make for a tomb southwest from here. Oh, and by the way, I have the Siren Magicite on me. On the nights that felt lonelier than others, it was my way of remembering you guys." Celis responds, "I didn't realize how sentimental you could be, Setzer." Setzer in a joking manner answers, putting his hand on his chest, "There are many layers to me," and then gives a wink. The group leaves Collingen and the scene shifts to the group approaching the aforementioned tomb. Sabin asks whose tomb this belongs to as they enter. Celis holds a fire in her hands to light the way. Setzer explains that this tomb belongs to a dearly beloved friend of his. Wanting the friend to have a tomb worthy for such an individual, Setzer commissioned its construction to be more than just a room for her to be lain, but rather an underground home decorated in a way that her spirit would feel at home if ever visiting. Celis asks if she was only just a friend or if there were anything more. Setzer answers that they were both free spirits who didn't want to be confined to labels. They knew they had each other to fly with and no one else mattered. They continue to walk to the innermost room of the tomb and approach the center where Daryl lies. Setzer uses his own fire to light the candle surrounding where she lay. He kneels with tears going down his face. He smiles, though, and tells her, "Your days of flying are not over. The world will know of your wings once more." Setzer gets up, puts out the candles while Celis continues to hold her fire. Setzer instructs the others, "Follow me," and they go through another door at the back of the room with many flights of stairs going down. The scene shifts to a flashback of interactions that Daryl and Setzer have with each other like in the game, where Daryl talks about flying higher and faster than ever done before. They agree to meet on their hill, but Daryl never shows up. Setzer finds where she had crashed, which was near Collingen, cries aloud over her dead body. We then see Setzer working with the construction workers to set up the tomb for her where the crash occurred. The tomb includes a massive hole dug up to make room to store the damaged airship. After completion, we see Setzer carrying Daryl's body into the tomb with the construction workers loading the damaged airship and the broken remains into the room. The scene fast forwards to Setzer in the world of ruin standing outside Collingen shortly after Kefka's catastrophe. He walks to the tomb and in the room where the broken airship was taken to, and gets to work fixing up the airship. The group walks onto the airship in the giant room it's been in, the room full of torches having been lit by the group. Setzer finishes his story. "I fixed her up with all the free time I had as a final offering for Daryl. Oh, how grateful I was for the tomb to still be intact. I originally wasn't planning to fly her to keep her near her airship, but as you guys reminded me of her back in town, I realized she would actually want me to get back in the air. The more I think about it, I also see that in this way, she would actually be flying once more too, and with me. I went through the hassle of storing it underground with her so no one would stumble across it and do what they pleased. Thanks to that precaution though, we're good to go. This is the Falcon." Setzer turns to Sabin. "You got a blitz that can clear out the roof above the airship for us to get out of here?" Sabin with a smile answers, "I can see what I can do." He climbs above the airship, fires aura bolts outlining a giant rectangle above. Edgar and Celis jump in using float on the earth above that would otherwise fall on them from Sabin's aura bolts, separating it from the ground above. Setzer starts at the Falcon and rises to the air, pushing through the suspended earth. Once the airship is in the air, Setzer flies around a bit and the episode comes to an end. Season 4, Episode 6. The scene starts with Kefka at his tower and he's draining the magic power of one of the statues of the Warring Triad. "Yes, yes, yes! More power!" The flow of the magical energy reduces to a trickle. Kefka notices, I guess I finally reached the end of your supply. You can keep the tiny bit you still have. I'm so merciful. Speaking of, who should I cast judgment on next? Kefka flies to the top of his tower, surveying the land to see what he might torch next. Suddenly, he sees the falcon fly across from his view. Angrily, he yells, "What?" Realizing his next opportunity for some real fun calms down. He thinks to himself, I'll hold off my judgment for now. I'll let them go. Give them hope that they can restore this broken world, and then I'll utterly destroy them. Kefka's smile grows wider. He turns toward another location in his tower and continues to think to himself, I want more power for this. Statue number 2, your magic is needed. Kefka's thoughts pour into his joyous cackle. Returning to the friends. We're at Magicite 5 out of 13, Friends 4 out of 12. Setzer has slowed down after flying a bit. Celis with a smile, feeling more hopeful than ever, sees a bird flying and urges, Setzer, follow that bird. Setzer plainly asks, why? Celis responds, I don't know. I just get the sense that it'll lead us to where we should go next. Setzer with no reason to argue, doesn't hurt to do so. As Setzer is flying, Edgar asks, maybe we should go back and check on Terra. Celis reasons, if we see that the bird doesn't lead us anywhere after a few minutes, we'll go to Terra. We know where she is, but we may end up somewhere we didn't know we needed to be. Setzer tells the others, looks like the bird has led us to Miranda. The scene changes and the group, upon entering the town, see the same bird fly off in the opposite direction it arrived from. Sabin considers, I guess the bird is actually a carrier pigeon. Edgar antsy to go back to Terra. Are we really going to look for someone in this town who's sending mail? Celis responds, I ended up on a solitary island where a carrier pigeon would have been essential, connecting to the outside world. Maybe this person is making the most of their time reconnecting in this broken world. I wouldn't mind meeting them. Then we'll go to Terra. Celis asks around about the carrier pigeon, and one person excitedly talks about her friend who got reconnected with her fiancé, who recently sent so many bouquets of flowers. Celis comments with a smile, how sweet of him. The friend walks off and Sabin points out, might be that house over there. She must have gotten so many she had to use them as lawn decorations. The woman steps out the front door looking worried. Setzer, noticing, walks up to her. Hello, my dear. I could not help but notice the poor concern on your face, but the flowers here suggest you have much to be happy for. The woman starts crying and hands Setzer the letter in her hand. Setzer reads, My beloved Lola, the past few months have been the happiest I've been in a long time. However, I realize that I cannot continue. For you see, I am actually not your fiancé. We met briefly a few months ago and you asked me if I had seen him. Not wanting you to have lost him, I thought to write to you in hopes of lifting your spirit. I realize though that this is not sustainable and is ultimately a lie. I too have lost a loved one and I know the pain that it comes with. I merely wanted to protect you. Please forgive me. I wish for you to find love, but I am not worthy to be the one to give it to you. May you find the love you deserve to have. Cyan. Setzer looks up after reading and utters, I'm sorry, and gives the woman a hug and a handkerchief. The woman speaks, I sent a letter back. How could he lie to me? And I've been loving some random, sad soul instead of my fiancé. Setzer in an empathetic tone, You know, I wouldn't mind teaching this horrid man a lesson. Might you tell us where you sent the pigeon to? The woman responds, All I know is that the bird flies northwest of here. Make sure you punch him in the face for me. Setzer returns to the other three, doing their best to eavesdrop while being casual and nonchalant. Celis was right. We have a loveless swordsman to pick up. Sabin cheers. Cyan, let's go! The scene shifts to the group walking into Zozo, and Celis comments to Edgar, At least we're going to where we once found Terra, offering a chuckle. Edgar laughs. Maybe Cyan is an Esper too. Sabin asks, You think Dodaluma and his crew are around still? As if he heard Sabin, Dodaluma calls out from the same building as before upon seeing them. Hey, come up here, through the building! His same line as before. The group comes up, and Dodaluma gives Edgar a handshake. Ah, rich boy, you've made it to the end of the world. Edgar says, and same to you. Dodaluma asks what brings them back as the girl he had watched over is not here. Edgar asks if he's seen a swordsman around sending letters. Dodaluma answers, Ah, that tortured man. Behind this building is a mountain where he's been sending those little birds with messages. Careful though, there's a terrifying dragon up there. It might be the reason he's chosen to not come down. The group thanks them and they head off. The scene shifts and they're walking up the mountain fighting off wild beasts. Edgar comments on his luck picking up a new set of tools from the castle. After some fighting, they hear a dragon roar and fly toward them, launching aerial attacks, hurting Sabin. Edgar uses Bolt 2 on the dragon. Celis, seeing how effective the damage seemed to be, also uses Bolt 2. Setzer uses Cure 2 on Sabin and then casts Slow on the dragon. The dragon goes for an arrow attack, severely weakening the team. Edgar holds up the Ramu Magicite using the Judgment Bolt spell, which defeats the dragon. The party exhausted from the fight. Celis casts Cure 2 on everyone. Sabin concludes, "You better be here, Cyan." They walk a bit further up the mountain and see a cave with sunlight showing an exit on the other end. They walk through the small cave, and as they reach the outside on the other end of it, Sabin yells, "If it isn't the retainer of Doma!" Cyan turns to the group. "Everyone, you're alive!" He walks over and gives a solid handshake with Sabin, but then they hug it out afterward. After all their greetings are done, Setzer asks, "Want to know how we found you?" Cyan starts to feel uneasy. "I might be able to guess." Setzer accepts that Cyan knows. "Well, we have a message to deliver," and punches Cyan in the face. Cyan takes the hit and agrees. "I deserved that." Edgar asks, "Why did you lead the girl on?" Cyan answers, "I thought I was doing the right thing at first, protecting her from the painful news of her fiancé not being around. A recent letter of hers, though, made me realize that I couldn't keep up the facade, so I told her the truth. It was then that I realized that maybe I was writing to her as if she was my wife. I didn't want the feeling to go away. After my last letter, I considered finally coming down from the mountain, but a dragon convinced me to stay a little longer." Sabin responds, "And we made it to you because we were able to defeat that dragon. So hey, you don't have to be by yourself now, missing your family." Cyan smiles. "Thanks, Sabin. Thanks, guys." Setzer, "Does you being here mean there's a new airship?" Setzer with a sparkle in his eye. "You know it!" Cyan tells the others that he needs to gather some of his things in the cave before they head out. In a hurried fashion, he goes and grabs an adult magazine from behind a rock and then collects his sword and the magicite he had when the world crumbled, the Esper Shote. As they walk down the mountain, Cyan mentions that when he saw Lola and Miranda, he had also bumped into Gao, who mentioned going to the Veldt to get stronger. Sabin starts to say, "Hey, let's go get," and Edgar interrupts him. "Nope, we're visiting Terra." Celis laughs and the episode comes to an end. Season 4, Episode 7, the season finale. Magicite 6 out of 13, Friends 5 out of 12. Edgar, Sabin, Celis, and Setzer are standing outside the opera. Edgar in a monotone voice, "This isn't where Terra is." Setzer responds, I know, I'm sorry. I'm just surprised that it's here. I won't be long, I just want to check it out really quick." The group goes inside and the impresario is having a panic attack. Celis asks, "What's wrong?" The impresario complains that there's a dragon sitting on stage. "What good is an opera that survives the end of the world when no one would come because of a terrifying dragon?" Sabin remarks, "Don't worry, sir. We'll take care of this and be on our way." Edgar relents. "Alright, let's go." As they approach the stage from the audience, the dragon is howling as if it's performing its own solo. Setzer comments that it's not bad for a dragon. The dragon hears them and turns its howling into a roar that causes the ground around him to shake. The impresario, seeing the destruction to the stage, whimpers. Celis, noticing the shaken ground, casts Float on the team. Should be an easier time now to take care of. Edgar pulls out his drill, going in for some damage. Sabin performs a new blitz, Air Blade, on the dragon, knocking it down. Setzer follows up with some fire and Celis with ice too. The stage suffers more damage and the impresario is gripping the seats and the audience tightly. The dragon goes for an earthquake, but the group is unaffected as they continue to float above the ground. The group repeats their attacks and the dragon is slain. The impresario screams, "No!" The group looks around to see what's wrong and they notice that the stage is completely destroyed. In the awkward silence, Edgar asks, "So, new blitz, eh?" Sabin responds, "Yeah, I learned it fighting the dragon back when we found Cyan when it was using its aerial attacks." Edgar comments, "Nice." Setzer yells for the impresario, "We're devastated by the mess, but it was inevitable. Consider the cost for the dragon termination. We'll be on our way." The group leaves in a bit of a hurry. Sabin points out, "If I had a two-headed coin for every time I went to the opera with an unexpected good time, I'd have two two-headed coins, which isn't a lot, but I'm surprised that it happened twice." The scene transitions and the group of Edgar, Celis, and Cyan are walking into Mowgli's. Edgar tells the others to follow him as they enter the building and go behind the bookshelf as he did before, leading to the room with all the kids. "Hey everyone, is your mama here?" The kids recognize Edgar. "It's Mama's friend. Mama, your lucky friend is here," having misunderstood how Terra described him from before. Terra comes from the other room. Happy to see Edgar again, gives him a hug, and upon seeing Celis and Cyan, gives them hugs, happy to see that they've found each other since Edgar's last visit. Edgar says, We found Setzer and Sabin too, and we have a new airship. Thought it'd be good to visit and check in on how you're holding up. Tara thanks Edgar for the check-in and says that there's actually been a development as Dwayne and Katerin, the oldest of everyone here but still younger than Tara, are pregnant. Since she told him though a few days ago, he's been avoiding her. Cyan asks if she knows where he is right now. He's just scared. I remember when I found out Elaine was pregnant with Owain. I was very excited, but I was terrified. He just needs to hear from someone who's been there. Tara thanks Cyan and tells him that he's in the house next door. Cyan heads out and sees a menacing ape monster 4 times his size walking toward the houses. In shock, Cyan quickly returns and tells the others, "There's a giant monster heading this way and I'm humble enough to know I cannot defeat it on my own. Please join me." Edgar quickly responds, "We're on it." He turns to Tara and she responds, "I'll stay here with the kids making sure they're okay." Edgar and Celis head out with Cyan and face the beast. Some of the kids are peeking out of the house. The monster speaks, "I am Fun Baba. This is the first that my food has run to me. Ha 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 ha." Cyan, triggered by the laughter, speaking to the others in a quieter voice. "It sounds a little too close like Kefka." Edgar responds aloud to Fun Baba, "This is the first time seeing a beast introduce itself to its killers." The kids snicker, but Tara tells them to quiet down. Fun Baba laughs at the ridiculous claim. "Well, let's see who's right." Fun Baba starts with casting Bolt Magic. Celis uses her runic ability to absorb it, and Cyan goes for a new sword technique, Stunner, which stuns Fun Baba momentarily but easily starts moving again. "Is that all you got?" And then uses the Blowfish move on Cyan, knocking him down. Edgar uses his flash tool to try to blind him and then switches to his drill to pierce his side. Fun Baba, now aggravated, goes for a Solar Plex move, knocking Edgar unconscious. The kids gasp. One starts to cry. Tara tries to console them. "It's okay, they'll make it, and bring him back up." Cyan gets up, considering the magic learned from the Shoat Magicite. He thinks to himself, "Kefka poisoned my family. Let's poison this abomination," and proceeds to cast Bio. Fun Baba puts his claws on his chest and starts coughing profusely. Celis, not wanting to let up, uses Ice too to freeze him. The kids start to cheer, but are quickly silenced as Fun Baba breaks out of the ice and launches a Bolt 3 on Cyan. Celis, with a quick reflex, uses Runic once more to redirect the Bolt 3 to her to absorb it. Fun Baba, very annoyed with Celis, uses his Solar Plex move on her, knocking her unconscious. Tara gathers the kids at this moment to go back into the basement room, but she returns to continue watching but is quite scared. Cyan goes for another Bio spell and it brings Fun Baba to his knees, but he casts another Bolt 3 and with Celis no longer able to stop it, knocks Cyan out. Fun Baba slowly gets up, recuperating himself. He then yells, "Looks like I was right, and once I eat you, I'll eat my dessert hiding in these puny buildings." Fun Bubba's about to start walking over to Edgar to eat him. Out of nowhere, a Fire 3 spell explodes on Fun Bubba. He's flown back several yards, landing on his back. He gets up to look where it came from, and in the distance, he sees a glowing white creature staring daggers at him. It's Tara in her Esper form. Fun Bubba has a moment of fear in his eyes, but gathers his resolve. "I'll kill you just for fun." Fun Bubba launches a Blowfish. Tara dodges and launches another Fire 3. Fun Bubba is knocked back once more, landing on his stomach. Tara then glides over to Celis, picks up her sword, and in one swift motion as Fun Bubba looks up, the sword is thrust in his face, killing him once and for all as his body goes limp. Tara quickly proceeds to cast life on Edgar, Celis, and Cyan, reviving them all. Edgar looks up and sees Esper Tara. In a daze, he smiles, nods, and in a weak voice, "I'm the lucky friend to have you save us." Tara helps Edgar up and gives him a hug. She walks over to Celis, helping her, and with a shy laugh, "Thanks for letting me use your sword. It's still in Fun Bubba's head." Cyan, baffled, "Didn't know you were quite the swordsman." Tara laughs. "One stab to the face is nothing compared to what I've seen you do." Tara looks over to the house and sees that the kids have been watching this whole time. One of the kids moves forward. "Mama, is that you?" "It is, isn't it?" All the kids swarm Esper Tara, hugging her. "Mama, Mama!" and they start crying. Tara hushes them. "It's okay, the big scary monster is gone." She looks to Edgar. "I think I understand what was going on with me. It was love that I had for them all, and it replaced the drive I had to fight. When I saw you knocked out and heard that the kids were next, I realized that I have to fight, not to satisfy some vengeance, but to protect those I love." Tara looks to the kids. "Listen guys, Mama has to go. She needs to help stop a bad man so that you can live in peace. Listen to Dwayne and Katerin and help them as you welcome your new baby sibling." Cyan sees it in front of the other house, the young guy he believes to be Dwayne. With tears in his eyes, Dwayne runs to the house Tara was in to go see Catherine. Cyan whispers to himself, "Looks like their issues will get resolved too," and gives a small nod of approval. Celis goes over to Fumbaba and pulls out her sword. As she does, she notices a familiar texture on his spine, recognizing it to be magicite. She uses the sword to extract it, and as she holds it, the name of the Esper comes to her mind, Fenrir. Tara starts to walk with the group to go back to the airship and asks, "Edgar, are you always this smiley when one of us returns to the group?" and laughs. Edgar puts his arm around her shoulder. "Nah, just with you." The scene shifts to the airship flying off, and the season ends. Alright, now for my thoughts on the season as we have entered the world of ruin. I like the idea of starting off with the misdirection of the heroes winning, only for it to be a dream, startled by Kefka's laugh, revealing that the world really is in ruin. Now, a big decision gets made in the first episode of whether or not to kill Sid. In the game, Sid can either die from giving him rotten fish or not feeding him at all, or you can save him by giving him good fish at a good pace. If Sid dies, then Celis tries to commit suicide, which is quite dark actually. I felt that going this route would have been too much. Also, in this telling of the story, I actually need Sid alive for a few reasons that will be addressed in later seasons. Therefore, we save Sid, as you should in a regular playthrough of the game. Lastly, regarding Sid, it would have been weird in the show to have Celis just continually shoving fish in his face, so just one serving of some good fish is all that's needed. Another big decision that gets made is for Celis to not have the entire party's full inventory like in the game. What is done instead is that each party member has one magicite from before the events of Season 3's finale. One party member actually has two. And as the group reconnects with more friends, their magicite stash continues to replenish as well. Celis also has her sword on her, which was shown in Season 4's finale. With Episode 2, we show how Kefka is actively terrorizing the world with his judgment. Now in the game, Celis sees Sabin holding up the house before she goes to save the kid. For the sake of Sabin's reveal, I wait until after she saves the kid for her to learn that Sabin's alive. This prevents Celis from having to hold in her response to save the child, and it also allows for Sabin in this setting to not be specific with how exactly he's holding up a house. That would somehow completely collapse if he were to let go. Sabin is an optional recruitment in the game, but for this story, since he's with us, he gets to have some speaking roles for future events. This is also the start of the group going out of their way to collect more magicite, such as the Seraphim magicite, since they're already in Zen. Now, the group originally had 12 that the story basically gave you from Zozo in the Magitech factory, and in the game you could still technically skip 4 of these, but now the team will pursue all the available magicite to gain every advantage they can to ultimately stop Kefka. Lastly, although the group has the option to visit Tara the first time, I instead reserve that meeting for Edgar to take place in a flashback, since Edgar's story with Tara is important in this series, and it keeps the main group making progress. Next, with Episode 3, we give Sabin some more speaking lines than in the game with the recruitment of his own brother, which is fun because I can make him point out to Celis that Edgar's really bad with his disguise as Jared, which is his name but the letters rearranged. I really like that I gave Sabin the Phantom Magicite out of the 12 since it allows them to be sneaky in following Edgar. Edgar having Ramu is a really nice touch because he had that last when signaling to Setzer back on the floating continent, and it's just the kind of power generation that works for getting the engine to work again for the castle. Unlike the game, I also make it a point for the engineer to point out to Edgar about the cave that the castle runs into on its way to emerge from the ground. This will allow the group to consider revisiting the castle to explore the cave as a way of looking into places they can explore more for resources to fight Kefka with. In the game, you had to find out from some NPC about there being something underground near Figaro Castle. As mentioned before, with it being weird for the group to just have their entire inventory from before, it's mentioned in a later episode this same season, but I point out how Edgar had to restock on his tools. It's for this reason we won't see Edgar in this series use his signature chainsaw, unfortunately, because that is not something you can get at the castle. Now that I think about it though, I guess I could have had him get it at Zozo in the World of Ruin, since he never got it back in the World of Balance, But too late, I've already written this whole series out and I'm not making changes. For episode 4, I take this time with Edgar sharing what he'd been up to prior to the group finding him by giving closure to Bannon's death and having him meet up with Tara. In the game, Bannon is completely absent in the world of Ruin, which is such a shame that the group just entirely forgets the leader of the Returners, not even questioning his whereabouts. And I give Bannon proper closure while adding depth to Edgar's character. Edgar's interaction with Tara is nice because we get to make a callback to when they wanted her to fight with the Returners, but wanted it to be her choice. And then in visiting Kohlingen, it really works out that Edgar, Sabin, and Celis, all 3 were in the town together before back in Season 2, and they get to visit Rachel without Locke feeling weird about it since he's not there. We reach episode 5, and Setzer conveniently has another airship for everyone to use. The tricky thing about this was tying out how Setzer was able to store this new airship and getting it to emerge from the tomb to fly around again. It was a logistical nightmare, and I'm sure someone else could make it work in a less convoluted manner, but regardless, they can fly again, and the boss fight in the game is skipped because why is a random monster hanging out at Daryl's tomb? It's episode 6, and there's the urgency to go visit Tara again, but wanting to stick with how the game leads the player, we're following a bird to Miranda to help us find Cyan. Another interesting aspect of writing this out is explaining how the group ends up interacting with Lola to learn about Cyan's whereabouts, because in the game, you can just walk into any house and talk to the people inside, but that's weird to do in real life, so it's set up so that the conversations take place more naturally. This episode is also where we meet the first of the 8 dragons that leads to the Crusader Magicite that the group will learn more about in the next season, and it's important for the group to defeat it, so they do so before reaching Cyan. Now when Cyan collects his things, he has an adult magazine that is a reference to how in the game, if I'm not mistaken, what gets translated as Book of Secrets in the English version is Bushido in the Bedroom in the Japanese version. Bushido meaning Way of the Swordsman. So that's a reference to that. So first we have a creepy Locke preserving his dead girlfriend's body, and now we have a creepy Cyan with porn who is pretending to be a woman's dead fiance. Sheesh. And then we have a fun season finale where Tara shows just how badass she is with Fire 3 explosions and a sword stab to the face of Fun Bubba inspired by the ending of Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. Before talking more about that, I need the group to defeat the dragon at the opera, so we stop by there briefly for a fun visit, and Sabin gets to reference Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb, commenting on if he had a 2-headed coin instead of a nickel, he would have 2. Now, with Tara, we get the first party switch up with Setzer and Sabin staying on the airship, and Cyan joining the group. Cyan here is nice for being able to relate to Dwayne, who's about to be a father. And then Funbubba appears, and Tara saves the day, and the season ends with a nice moment of Edgar revealing his feelings a little more to Tara about how smiley he is with her back on the team. And so that's everything. Thanks for watching/listening. Have a good one.